I think we're just calling this Portland is boring.
Portland's boring.
Are you thinking about moving to Portland? Here's 3 reasons why you shouldn't. One of them is not because you're from California.
All that starts now. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul and Seth with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Lake Oswego, Oregon today. We're at Stickman Brewing. If this is your first time to the channel, living in Oregon, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. People reach out to us all the time who are thinking about moving to the Portland area, people who are moving to Oregon. We love to hear from you. Give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link in the description of this video, schedule a Zoom call with us. However you decide to get a hold of us, we'd love to help you out if you're relocating to Oregon or to the Portland area.
What's the first reason why you should not move to Portland?
I think we have to talk about the weather, right?
I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those things that gets associated with Portland.
Yeah, we've been sitting out here for a little bit preparing to shoot this video, and I think we've been rained on off and on about 5 times. So, you know, here we are in spring, you know, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of rain, a little wind here. It's a little bit chilly. I mean, we're wearing our coats.
Right.
So,
it was like 70 something a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, about 10 days ago, I think it was about 75.
And it snowed last week.
And then 4 days later, actually, it was 4 days later, it snowed. There was about an inch of snow on the ground just about everywhere in the Portland area.
Not super common, or common at all.
Yeah, not common for April for sure. But yes, school was canceled. You know,
Yeah.
some 2-hour delays and bus delays and things like that. So. Yeah, especially springtime around these parts, you get a pretty mixed bag, but you know, I feel like this spring it's been a little bit cold. You do get, you know, some years where, you know, even early to mid-March, you get a lot of 60-degree days, sunshine, you know, stretches of great weather. But generally it's pretty rainy, you know, and pretty cold, a lot of overcast this time of year.
Yeah. I think the worst part about it is, I think, you know, if you watch some of our other videos, we might have the weather as a pro, you know, because it makes it so beautiful here. Obviously, it wouldn't be so green here if we didn't have this rain. But there are times throughout the year where you'll just see like 2, 3, 4, 5 days of just rain in that 10-day forecast nonstop. You know, and you kind of start to you get that feeling of being cooped up, that cabin fever feeling, especially.
It takes the wind out of your sails.
It takes the wind out of it.
Yeah.
It definitely does. Yeah, it's, you know, especially with work from home. So many people are working from home these days, and so you end up getting cooped up at home for 2, 3, 4 days. You don't go outside too much, and I think that's probably the worst part about it. You know, so if you're somebody that really needs vitamin D, somebody that needs to consistently see the sun, that's maybe one person I would say Portland might not quite work for you, because the weather isn't terrible. It really overall is good, but if you can't go 2, 3, 4 days without seeing the sun and having it rain over and over again, not every month, you know, but maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 months out of the year, you're gonna get these long streaks of just rain. And then, you know, sometimes you'll see the sun peek out here and there, and we'll probably see that throughout this video. But I think that's the roughest part. Maybe for some people that should require a lot of sun.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can look at it from a lot of different ways, because, you know, a lot of people moving here from warmer climates, sunnier climates, if you're coming from like a Phoenix or, you know, a place in the Southwest, you know, where it's sunshine all day, you know, and it's warm, you're not going to get that year round here. But that is something that brings people to the area, and something that people love who are coming from a climate that is sunny all the time, because you have a lot more variety. You know, a lot of people like the rain, you know, when they're not used to it, but I've lived here my whole life.
It's true.
Yeah, as you have as well. And, you know, sitting out here right now, when the wind picks up, when it starts drizzling, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty miserable. But that's just my perspective. Maybe I have a low tolerance for it. I don't know, but
if we could make it rain here less, I think most of us would.
yeah, for sure.
Again, that might take away from the green. It's just so green and beautiful here, but
Yeah.
sometimes the rain is a little bit much. But they say that makes us appreciate the sun just that much more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing
guess.
is, we don't take anything for granted, because, we do get these changes in the season. We might take a lot of the beauty in the landscape here for granted because we're exposed to it all the time, 24/7 year round. But, when that sun comes out, boy, we appreciate it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And definitely make the most of it. So that's why, like Seth was saying, you pull up the forecast and you see, the 7-day, 10-day forecast, and it's rain and it's, mid 40s, maybe a high of 50. It's hard to plan, it's hard to say, hey, on Friday or on Saturday, let's go to this park, let's do this, let's have a picnic, or let's go to this neighborhood and walk around. It's a lot harder to do a lot of those things when it's when it's so gloomy out.
Well, yeah, we're middle towards the end of April. I mean, if you just want to take a look at, we'll pick it up there, what your kind of 10-day weather forecast looks like. And actually, there's a few glimpses of sun, and Saturday's kind of shaping up. When I looked at it this morning, it was mostly just overcast and rain. But this time of year, those spring showers, we do get quite a bit of rain.
Yeah. So, overall, the summer's great. I know we've talked about
Amazing.
that. Yeah, if you've watched many of our videos up to this point, the summer is unbeatable. But probably about the best place in the country you can be in the summertime. It's not too hot, although we do get some heat waves. There are days of 100 degrees. Last year we had 2 or 3 days that were like 115. So that
not common.
Yeah, that was.
It might be the new norm. I don't know, but
yeah, hopefully not. At least a bit of an anomaly up to this point. But yeah, summers are beautiful, unbeatable. People are getting out, going to the lake, going on hikes, getting out, walking around, doing hikes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's probably a good 8 months, maybe 7 months of the year where you can reliably get pretty gray, pretty rainy days.
You're gonna get some streaks where it's like 3, 4, 5 days where it's like, please, sun, come out.
Yeah, and any month of the year, you can get, at least a day of sunshine, some sun breaks. And, even if it's 35 degrees, if there's no wind and it's sunny, the sun feels a little warmer than it is, you can get out and go for a walk or something like that. Or just, feel better about getting out and doing anything. But yeah, I mean,
I think it works for most people, but there is going to be some people. I have known a few people that just wanted to leave specifically because of the weather. So again, if you're somebody that really needs vitamin D, needs to see the sun all the time, that's maybe the one person I would say Portland is probably not right for you.
Yeah, there are. I don't know too much about the medical diagnosis, but a lot of people around here talk about seasonal affective disorder, and maybe it's somebody who moved in here from a sunnier climate. They weren't used to it, and then they realized this is something that affected them and affected their mood a lot. Or even people who've grown up here. I've heard them talk about it, and so again, I don't know too much about it. As far as an actual diagnosis, but it's pretty easy to see that days on days of clouds and gloomy weather does have an effect on people's mood. So that that is a little bit at the very least just a part of what you're getting, for good, for bad, whatever, if you're moving here.
Yeah. All right, so what's next? What's another reason why somebody shouldn't move here?
Well, it's really hard to find a house here right now.
Yeah, it is. That's true for most of the country, but Portland is no exception. And when we say Portland too, we mean the Tri-County area, Multnomah County, Washington County, Clackamas County, that entire region. And Oregon is a migratory state. There are people leaving here, but there's more people coming here. So there's a lot of competition for homes here. And we've had struggles building homes, just like every other state has. So because it's a migratory state, because it's so competitive, it is really tough for buyers here. It's not impossible, but it's really, really tough. So it's definitely going to squeeze some people out of the market. I think for some people that are really kind of on the margin, on the edge, of their budget, you're not going to find a lot of budget-friendly stuff here.
Yeah, depending on where you're starting, you may have to reevaluate and take a step down. Some people, they can kind of get into, they have more flexibility. Obviously, everybody's situation is a little bit different. I actually saw a study that was referring to areas that had people moving in, migratory states, like you were saying, and the Portland metro area was in the top 5. I think it was 3 or 4 as far as population growth, kind of on a per capita basis. So yeah, this is a place that is growing like crazy, and it's just growing faster than the housing stock can accommodate. And you have like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I guess more like 14 years ago now, when the housing market crashed back in 2008, there was an altogether a slowdown in building new construction for a long period of time, and it's going to take a lot to catch up to the demand. So moral of the story, it is really hard to find a house right now, but I think it's definitely possible. The Portland metro area is really big. There's a lot of great neighborhoods and great suburbs. So there's probably places that are in higher demand than others, but a lot of that is because a lot of these places are probably just unknown.
Yeah. It's if you want to move here, it's definitely doable. What you're going to need to do is work with a realtor or realtors, us, that understand the market and understand what type of property you're going to be able to get with your budget and how you're going to be able to win an offer. So it's certainly doable for buyers, but if you're somebody that's looking for for value or looking for a deal, or like I said, you're kind of on the margins there, it's going to be really tough for those people for sure. And the thing with building too is, like Paul said, the crash really put a dent in things, but there's been an uptick recently in homes that are being built, but because of labor shortage and supply chain issues, the timeline for completion has actually gone up.
Yeah, up to 18 months, really. Yeah. So really, some of the best guidance right now, if you are buying a home in the Portland metro area, and like Seth said too, this probably applies to anywhere across the country, but the Portland market is super competitive. You want to look at the top end of your budget and probably shop, about 10% less than the top end of your budget, because then you have a little bit of room to be competitive, because most homes, anything that's even remotely desirable is going above asking. There's multiple offers, it's competitive for that particular property, so you want to have the additional budget to be able to offer over the list price to ultimately get into the home.
Yeah, and that's some great advice. Ideally just get with us, but Paul's giving you some great advice because he understands your behavior, which is you're going to go on Zillow and you're going to shop homes, and when you're pre-approved for a certain number, let's just pick a number, 500K, you're going to shop homes that are at 500K, right? That's what everybody does, okay? Rather than shopping homes at 500K, it's better just to kind of understand actually how far your dollar is going to go, and that's going to be dictated by the home that you want and the area that you want. So once you kind of pinpoint those things with Paul and I, we can really understand what home values are, and then we can look at market history, and we can make predictions as to how high a home might go over asking, or in some cases it might go a little bit under asking. Some people are really taking advantage of the seller's market and they're pricing really high, and in those cases sometimes those listings will go for a little bit less. Some people price right at, those go over. Some people price under, those go way over, right? So it just depends on where somebody's pricing a home, and Paul and I are going to be the ones that are going to be able to actually guide you and tell you, hey, is that home at market value? Is it above or below? Where should it actually fall? And how much over would you expect it maybe to go for? So all of those kind of details we'll kind of iron out with you, but the whole premise of maybe shopping for a home based on your budget, you want to factor in typically a certain percentage over, because most homes are going above asking.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes that I see.
Here comes that rain.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes that I tend to see is, say somebody's budget is $700,000, and they're starting to look at Zillow, they're starting to shop around. Not only are they looking right at that 700 mark, people are looking at 725, 750, thinking that maybe they can find a way to get a property for under asking price. And in a perfect world and in a different market, that's certainly something that we could look at. But the fact of the matter is, right now, there is more demand than there is supply of homes. So again, anything that's even remotely desirable as far as, a property goes in the right area is going to attract 5, 10, 20 offers. And there's just not going to be a scenario where that property sells for under list price.
And it's just, again, going back to what I was saying, it's just all kind of case by case. A lot of properties are being listed right at value, some below, some above, and Paul and I are going to be able to know that. So if you see something, go ahead and shop on Zillow, or Redfin, or what people like to do. But Paul and I are going to be able to tell you, hey, what is this property actually worth, and what do we expect it to actually go for?
Yeah. Yep. What do we got next?
The next one, I think we're just calling this Portland is boring.
Portland's boring. Portland's boring, yeah. Portland, the state of Oregon, is a beautiful place. There's tons of parks, tons of places to go hike, lakes, go to the river, go to the beach, go to the mountain, all of that stuff. But, ultimately, as far as, Portland, the city, and the Portland metro area, it's a pretty sleepy place.
Yeah, if I'm thinking of that super extroverted socialite type of person,
yeah,
Portland might not be the best. If you're coming from like a New York or maybe in LA, you don't quite have the same energy, especially in New York. Paul and I have clients in New York. We know what that energy is like. It's different than Portland. It's very laid back here. There's just not the same type of like snap and energy that you have kind of in a LA or a New York. So it's when we say Portland is boring, there's tons of stuff to do here, but it doesn't quite have the same vibe, same energy. So if you're somebody that's super extroverted, socialite, that just needs to have the sun and the energy all the time and kind of that like upbeat, Portland might not be the best place for you.
The social scene here, seems to kind of revolve around, your home garden, maybe raising some chickens, a lot of arts and crafts, it's a very artsy place, which is great, so, depending on what you're looking to get into and what your lifestyle and hobbies are, it might be the perfect place. But, odds are, you're watching this video because you're relocating to Portland, either because you love it and you know what it's all about and you want to hear some perspective from some people who've lived here their whole lives, so we can definitely talk about that. But maybe you're relocating here for work out of necessity, and you want to get a feel for is it going to be worth it to make that move here to Portland? And don't get me wrong, the food scene is great. There's a lot of great bars.
Yeah.
There is a nightlife, but there's not like a nightlife district necessarily. There's not a ton of clubs. There's not like a fashion scene necessarily. It just lacks a lot of the things that major cities typically have.
The other cities on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Seattle, San Francisco, LA.
In particular, other cities on the West Coast. Yeah. So, and maybe part of the reason, it's can be really boring is it rains a lot. We're out here in it right now, and it's tough to step out your door sometimes. I think people do tend to get pretty insulated. People's social circles tend to be pretty small. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but Portland does tend to lack a certain level of energy, that a lot of other major cities have.
Yeah, and it's probably partially due to the weather. I mean, you go down to LA and the weather's just perfect, so people are always out and about. Right now, this type of weather, people are hiding if anybody was out and about, in the first place. So that's a big part of it. But it's not all the time. But if you're somebody, like I said, that's just highly extroverted, always has to be outside, there are some good social networks and groups that you can connect with here in the Portland area, but probably not like some of the bigger cities like Seattle, San Francisco, LA.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that paints the picture for you.
Yeah, if you're thinking about moving to Portland, definitely get in touch with us because we can expound upon these, these topics and really talk about if it's going to be a good fit for you. Give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. Click the link below in the description of this video and schedule a Zoom call with us. We would love to talk to you more about your move. And if this video was helpful, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and click the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
We're going to go inside now.